All right, guys, we are back with another episode, and this time it's another one on the Netherlands. More specifically, how the Dutch created the Netherlands. So, the original channel is by a channel called Geography Geek, sorry, right here. And go ahead and subscribe to them. They got good stuff. So let's check it out.
The saying goes that God created the earth, but the Dutch created the Netherlands. In this video, I'm going to show
I've
you
never heard
how.
that saying actually.
Today, in 2021, the Netherlands looks like this, but in 1300, it looked like this.
Oh,
Today,
wow.
about half of the Netherlands is reclaimed land. The inhabitants of this land, that is today modern-day Netherlands, have been reclaiming land since at least the 14th century.
What?
Some of it was reclaimed by draining lakes, but most of it was acquired by taking it back from the sea. But it hasn't been easy. It's taken generations of engineers, many failures, and at least 600 years worth of experimentation for the country to finally be winning its war against the sea.
It's
The
crazy.
country sits on the coast of the North Sea and is extremely low in elevation, the lowest country in Europe. The Netherlands doesn't even have a
I wonder if it's the lowest country ever. Let me check real quick. Lowest elevation of any country. Lesotho is a small mountainous enclave surrounded on all sides by South Africa, and it's the only country in the world that sits entirely above 1,000 meters of elevation. I know, what's the lowest? That's not. All right, I'm gonna go back to the video, guys. We'll figure it out later.
single mountain. Its tallest point stands at just over 1,000 feet.
That's crazy.
The name Netherlands itself literally means lowland in Dutch. Today, 26% of the country sits below sea level, and only about half of the country sits more than 1 meter above sea level. The country
1
also
meter,
lies along the
wow.
delta of several major European rivers. Combined, these physical characteristics have made the Netherlands into one of the most flood-prone countries in the world. Some of these floods resulted in tens of thousands of deaths. One flood in 1530, known as St. Felix's Flood, killed over 100,000 people. These floods, combined with wind, caused the Netherlands coastline to change constantly, and at times quite dramatically. St. Felix's Flood washed 18 villages into the sea, leaving one city stranded on an island before that too was eventually abandoned due to flooding in the following years.
I wonder if
But
it's
the
still
Dutch
there.
fought back. They built dikes to protect the land from being lost, and they took it a step further and built what are called polders. Polders are a piece of reclaimed land from the sea or river. They are created by first building dikes around a wetland. Water is then pumped out of the center. Historically, this was done with windmills. Today, this is done with electric pumps. Reeds are then sown. Today, this is done by aircraft. This helps the soil form. After 3 years, reeds are burnt and the ash is used as fertilizer for the soil. After a period of up to 15 years, the polder is ready for growing crops, building houses, and constructing roads. These
Uh,
polders are continually maintained to keep from becoming waterlogged from ground and rainwater. Water is pumped out into canals or drained off through side gates. All of this draining causes these polders to sink further below sea level.
it's
Much of the
crazy.
Netherlands is covered in peat. When the peat is dehydrated, it exposes the peat to oxygen from the air, which causes it to decompose. From 1200 to 1900 AD, the Dutch reclaimed a total of 1,285,000 acres from
Wow.
lakes and the sea, but lost 1,400,000 acres of land to the Zuiderzee, a shallow bay of the North Sea. Over the next 100 years, the battle between the Dutch and the sea continued, but the Dutch would finally come out ahead by the end of the 20th century. But again, this wasn't without more hardship. In January of 1916, a winter storm broke dikes in several places along the Zuiderzee. At the same time, there was a food shortage due to World War I. This was enough for full public and government support to start what is known as the Zuiderzee Works.
All
This
right.
project had three goals. 1. Protect the central Netherlands from the effects of the North Sea. 2. Improve water management by creating a freshwater lake from the former uncontrolled saltwater inlet. And 3. Increase the Dutch food supply by development and cultivation of new agricultural land. The first two goals were accomplished with dikes. Planned polders, which sit below sea level, would
Crazy
not
looking.
survive without them. The first dike was built here and completed in 1924. The second and largest here.
That's pretty big.
10,000 workers created this 32-kilometer long and 90-meter wide dike. It rises to 7.25 meters above sea level with an incline of 25% on each side and was completed in 1932. Fresh river water continued to flow and soon flushed out the salt water, creating the Freshwater Lake.
Nice.
Today, this freshwater lake functions as a large reservoir, serving as a source for both agriculture and drinking water. This altered environment has had an impact upon the fish and plant ecosystems.
Oh,
The
yeah.
original fishing for herring, anchovies, and flounder has been replaced by freshwater fisheries, chiefly for eels. The change has also been beneficial for Dutch boats, as the freshwater significantly reduces rusting of the hulls. There is also far less buildup of marine growth, so boats need far less coatings of toxic chemicals to keep the growth off. A third dike was built here, which was intended for a polder that was never built. The first polder of the project was a small prototype and was finished in 1929. 4 more massive polders followed suit, with the last one being completed in 1967. These 2 polders are now home to over 400,000 people and
Wow.
are its own province, called Flevoland, which
That's
was officially
nuts.
formed in 1986. Though heavily populated, these polders stick to their original purpose of being mostly used as farmland. These polders have turned this small nation into the second largest food exporter in the world,
Wow.
only sitting behind the United States. Quite impressive for being the 16th densest country in the world and the
That's
densest
crazy.
country in Europe. But this modern engineering feat did not end the Netherlands' troubles in the southern Delta region. In 1953, another catastrophic flood hit the country. Strong winds from a storm combined with a high spring tide over the North Sea caused a storm tide. The combination of wind, high tide, and low pressure overwhelmed most sea defenses, breaching dikes and flooding land up to 18.5 feet above mean sea level.
That's
The
nuts.
flood caused widespread damage, and 1,836 people in the
Wow.
Netherlands were killed, most of which were in the areas that already relied on sea defenses but had failed. The flood covered 9% of Dutch farmland, an estimated 30,000 animals drowned, and 47,300 buildings were damaged, of which 10,000 were either swept away or had to be taken down from extensive damage.
That's
The total
crazy.
damage is estimated to have been the modern day equivalent of $5.5 billion. The Dutch created a new plan to prevent a
That
flood
poor
of this
car.
severity from happening again. They called it Delta Works. While the Zuiderzee Works was largely for land reclamation, the Delta Plan's purpose was largely defensive. Together, these 2 works are one of the 7 wonders of the modern world. This
No
project
shit.
would be a series of dams, dikes, and storm surge barriers located throughout the Delta.
One of
Would be a series
one of the
of works
7
are one of
wonders,
the
huh?
7 wonders of the modern world.
That's
This
cool. I did not
project
know
would be a
that.
series of dams, dikes, and storm surge barriers located throughout the Delta region. It is designed to withstand a once in 10,000 year storm event. The original purpose was actually for barriers strong enough to withstand a 1 in 125,000 year storm event, but its costs were deemed unrealistic to build and maintain.
A lot of money.
The most difficult to build and most expensive section of the Delta Works is a 9-kilometer long dam with a man-made island in the middle. It's based on 65 concrete pillars with 62 steel doors, each 42 meters wide. This dam took more than a decade to complete. One of the most impressive parts of the Delta Works is an opening and closing
That's cool.
storm surge barrier located on a ship canal in South Holland province. It has 2 210-meter long barrier gates with 2 237-meter long steel trusses holding them. When closed, the barrier will protect the entire width of the canal. It is expected to be closed once every 10 years, but due to sea levels rising, closures will likely occur more frequently. The entire Delta Works project took over 40 years to complete, finishing in 1997. Hypothetically, if all of the dikes in the Netherlands failed, it would look like this.
Wow.
This would include the flooding of Netherlands' capital city, Amsterdam,
Amsterdam's
which is home
gone.
to over 800,000 people, and altogether 1.5 million people in the surrounding urban area. When Amsterdam was founded around the 12th and 13th centuries, it was located in swampy and unstable land around the Amstel River, so structures could not be built without the risk of them sinking. The residents solved this issue by inserting wooden piles into the ground. Canals were then dug between the structures for transportation and water management.
Nice.
Today, these canals are a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So, what does the future hold for the Netherlands? Will the Netherlands continue to win its battle against the sea? And will they continue to engineer and create their own landscape? Well, in 2016,
I'd be
the
nervous
creation
if I was you
process
guys.
began to construct the Marker Wadden, a group of islands designed to establish nature reserves as a replacement to the never-built polder. However, no human occupation is planned for this polder. In 2011, a Dutch journalist jokingly wrote that the Netherlands should build a mountain.
Hey now, there's no mountains in the Dutch in the Netherlands. What is this?
So its winter sports competitors don't have to train in another country. But that wasn't something to joke about to the Dutch population. They actually considered it. But it was estimated to cost $7 trillion, take 30 years, and the mountain's weight would sink the surrounding area.
They were actually gonna make a homemade mountain. That's crazy. I think they should do it. That'd be neat.
On a more serious note, sea levels are expected to rise due to climate change and will
Yeah,
eventually
man,
be more than what the current dikes in the country were built to handle. To solve this problem,
You're gonna
a
have to
Dutch
figure it
scientist
out.
has proposed constructing 2 massive dams in the English Channel and the North Sea. Though this may not be a realistic solution. To fight climate change, the Dutch are raising the dikes they already have, widening rivers, giving them more room to overflow, and to a lesser extent are building floating houses. Hopefully
wow.
this will be enough. If you enjoyed this video,
Floating
hit the subscribe
houses, that'd
button
be
for
pretty
more
neat.
geography related videos. Thank you for
All right, guys, that was it. And hit the subscribe. I have it right there, right above me. All right. Take care. I will see you in the next one.